All right, we are here reloading Room Confessions. This is episode 3. We've got Josh Salome. Josh joined us. How long ago did you join us at our club?
7 months ago for the 600 yard.
Okay, and you've been a member for a lot longer there, right?
About 2 years.
About 2 years. And Josh is one of these guys. He does a ton of different disciplines. What are all the different kinds of disciplines that you shoot?
I mean, right now I only shoot the FPR at the 600 yard club, and then most other things are just tinker shooting.
Handguns.
Rifles, ARs.
Yeah.
Everything.
22s, 223, 9mm.
I load way more calibers than I should because it spreads everything out. But
yeah, I noticed that. I'll just give you guys a quick peek here. This is just kind of his stock of different bullets, and you can see, he's not doing too bad. He's got some gold in them there hills, and, a little bit of loading going on. A little bit of loading going on over here. And, it's definitely, you can tell that it's somebody who does a lot of different things. And that's, that's fine. So when it comes to reloading, what is sort of your non-negotiable when it comes to components? Like, we'll talk about your equipment in a minute, but since we just showed your powder and primer, stuff like that, are you sort of one of these guys that just says, look, if I can find a deal, I'll make it work? Or are there certain things for certain calibers or guns where you really say, look, I've got to have this?
I'm probably the guy that's going to be looking for the best deal.
Okay.
Basically, whatever I can find, I'll manipulate my setup to make that work. I haven't found anything that's 100% sticking to, except for burger bullets for my 300 Win Mag. The rest of my calibers are pretty spread out in variety for manufacture of bullets, primers, powder. I'm always trying different things.
Okay, that works. And what got you into reloading? Obviously you've got a nice little setup here. You clearly are passionate about it. How did you get started?
I had a couple family members that were into it, and I had never thought about wanting to do it until I saw their setups, and they definitely inspired me to start doing it. And then once you start doing it and you realize how much better it is than buying any sort of box ammo, you can't stop after that. You'll never go back to box ammo once you start loading your own.
Yeah, and one of the questions I always ask people, do you shoot to reload or do you reload to shoot?
I definitely shoot to reload. I've loaded more rounds in the last year than I've shot, that's for sure.
Okay. And, looking around, I see buckets of brass. I see a bucket, there's a bucket down here. It says 223 brass. We've got another bucket of brass over here. I take it you're somebody that picks up some brass at the range if it looks like it's worth reloading?
I am a brass bunkie at Tri-County for sure. I love going behind everybody that just dumps all their brass and just leaves it there, and I just go and clean up.
Yeah. Is there any caliber you won't pick up and reload?
No. I don't think so. I mean, probably 300 Win Mag, which I've never found on the ground at Tri-County. I don't think I would load that because who knows why it's on the ground. But everything else, I bring it home. I'm not picky when I'm at the range. Yeah. And then I bring it home and I just sit down, maybe me and a buddy, and we just sort through brass. And at first, I was even sorting through manufacturers of brass, even on 9mm.
The head stamps and stuff?
The head stamps, and then, I gave up on that because I did an experiment with 100 pieces of sorted brass and 100 pieces of mixed brass, and I couldn't tell the difference. Yeah. For 9mm, anyways.
And so we're going to take a quick look around. We've got everything from a Lee APP press. We've got a really nice bench here, obviously a safe, and then we've got a number of RCBS tools lined up, and we'll kind of go over how and why he uses those. Some cases. I mean, it's a nice little room in here. This thing measures out probably, 20 by 20?
It's 14
or 14
by 12.
14 by 12, okay. Well, it feels like 20 by 20 in here.
High ceilings.
High ceilings. Now, I'm going to kind of point this one out first, because we were playing with this a few minutes ago, and I actually have one of these sitting under my bench, and I just haven't played with it. But tell me about your APP and why you like it so much.
At least for the handgun world, this isn't something I would recommend for rifle cases, just because of how it works using just gravity to drop the brass every time. I don't think it would work very well. But for pistol calibers, it's amazing. I pay $89 for this, maybe $30 in accessories, and it saves me all the time in the world.
And give me a quick demonstration. So this is what belling out the.
Yep, I'm expanding the 9mm on this right now. Just like anything, it might have its little hiccups, but the amount of time it saves in the long run.
Look at that! Like I was playing with it earlier, and it is so oddly satisfying because in your head you want it to be a progressive press, the way it's jamming through brass, and yet it's not. It's kind of an inline press, but it definitely gives you the speed of a progressive. And it just uses a standard kind of lock-in die system, so you can just pop them in and out and do whatever you need.
Yep, you have the QD similar to Hornady's. I'm sure it's just for Lee's setups, but it's very similar to the Hornady bushings.
Okay.
Everything on it is just very inexpensive. So for a beginner, this is going to be great. Like I said, just for handguns, though. I wouldn't recommend this for any sort of large rifle or anything.
So for pistol, do you do decapping on it?
I decap with this for my pistol. I size for this. I expand on this, and then I do all of my loading on the RCBS single stage.
And you were telling me, you guys might notice here that if you look, it's on clamps. And why is it on clamps?
Because it's mobile. So if I don't want to be out here by myself in my garage, I'll take this inside and watch a movie with the family and just be sitting there plugging away. That's why there's actually a towel in the bottom of the bucket.
To keep it quiet?
It was so loud plunking in the bottom every time. I had to put something in to kind of dampen the sound.
That's very cool. Well, I have to say, like I said, I've never played with one. I have one sitting under my bench that I keep meaning to hook up. I think this has given me the inspiration to hook mine up and at least play with it and see what kind of fun I can have. The roller handle here, I have to admit, I was playing with this, and I know that's an extra accessory, but man, that sure makes it nice.
It does. When you sit down and process 1,000 pieces of brass, the other one it comes with is just a hard plastic.
Yeah.
It just starts rubbing your hands weird ways.
Yeah.
And it was $20, which I at first couldn't get myself to do it, but after I loaded a few hundred, I was like, okay, this will be worth it.
Yeah, because the handle's 25% of the price of the press.
Yep. So the press was $90. I think this was 20 or 25, and I think I spent another 20 or 25. So I'm almost at the price of the cost of the press and accessories.
So for people who don't know what that is exactly, how do you use that, and what is the great advantage of that?
So when you get this first, it'll come with a single tube feed, and you have to manually sit there and put one piece of brass in every time. And when you buy this, it has the 4 tubes and the funnel on top, and using just gravity, you can take a handful and you put it in there, and you just shake it, and it all sorts.
And you were saying like maybe 1 or 2 out of 100 might fall the wrong way, and you can just pop them out at the bottom if they do.
I think I get like 35 brass per tube, and like in this tube right here, there's none. So it's hit or miss, but it's definitely pretty. 95% of the time you're going to get it right.
That's really cool. Okay, well that's some of your pistol reloading. Let's take a look at some of your more precision gear and kind of walk me through what you've got here and kind of how you use it. So, I know you best for coming out and shooting at the 600 with your 300 Win Mag. What is, your process? You've obviously got brass, and you guys will notice when you're looking at his setup, this is not an elaborate setup, but I will tell you, Josh is a great shooter. He loads some great ammo, and he's able to do it with some really basic tools. So walk me through kind of what your process is here.
Sure. So obviously I'll come home with my brass, just like this. I'll have it labeled needs all, so that means it needs all the work that's going to be done to it. And then I use the Redding sizing die. Because of John, I've recently changed my setup. I used to size and expand and decap all in the same shot. I no longer do that. Now I just have a sizing die that I have the decapping pin removed on. And also because of John, I now use Hornady One Shot. For the longest time I was using the RCBS lube and a rolling mat.
Yeah.
And it worked great, but it definitely takes more time to do it that way, and it's more picky, and it kind of gets things a little more dirty. So now I've switched to the One Shot, which I had been using for pistol, and I never thought about using it for 300 Win Mag, and it works.
Do you use the bag method, a box method?
I started using the bag method, but with 300 Win Mag, it's kind of a big case, and I wasn't getting as much coverage as I wanted to. So since I only load 50 pieces of brass at a time, I actually just take a towel, lay it out across here, spin it, kind of shake it like this so I can see them rolling, and then I'll give it another couple sprays.
All right.
Maybe one spray in the sizing die itself. Okay. And then also because of John, you can see lots of things have changed because of him. I now use the 21st Century sizing mandrel for the case neck. And that makes a big difference because the expanders that come on the Redding or any of the RCBS, any of the ones I've tried, they're very sticky, at least for 300 Win Mag on the actual expanding part.
Yeah.
So now that I've switched to this, everything feels very fluid and smooth with the brass.
notice any difference in your scores or anything like that, or your speeds, or
probably not, because I've only been doing it for I think the last 3 nights.
Oh, okay.
So it's a fairly new process to me.
Okay. And Josh and I were talking a little bit. He suffers from hand problems like I do. You can see over here he's got the Frankfurt Arsenal hand press, which you love, right?
Yeah, no, it's great. It's just it hurts me.
and so he just recently, and hasn't even set it up yet, got the RCBS automatic priming tool, just so he's got a bench primer. I've told countless people, if you look on my channels, anytime somebody says, hey, what's the best thing I can get for about $100 for priming on a bench, this is going to be it. I think this is a pretty hard tool to beat for the money, and we've been talking about setting that up, and he's excited, I think, to get his priming up and go in there. Let's talk about your rock chucker. So you are now the second person that does pretty much all their loading on a rock chucker. What kind of got you into the rock chucker? Do you wish you had something else? Do you actually find it to be a great press for what you do? Where are you at with it?
I started with the rock chucker because when I very first got into reloading, it was just the first thing I saw that came in a kit. So it was the rock chucker. It came with the powder dispenser. It came with whatever their other basic tools that they usually put with them.
Yeah, usually a scale, right?
I came with the mechanical scale, yeah, and then I bought a powder trickler. But now that I've gotten into reloading more, I've probably taken 3/4 of the kit that I don't even use anymore and upgraded the parts. But this is what I started with. I was actually just talking about this the other day because another friend of mine was getting into reloading, and he was looking at different presses, and he went for the Hornady because it has that bushing system.
The lock and load.
Yeah, the lock and load bushing system, which I would like to have something like that, but I also don't know anything about it, if it's still as precise. I don't know if there's any give to it or anything like that, but if there is no give to it, then I would definitely go with that. But you can't beat the RCBS, how solid it is. I mean, thing weighs like 25 pounds.
And I think there's actually a conversion for the chucker.
Somebody told me that after I looked into the Hornady one. I haven't looked into it too much. I imagine it's just changing this piece out.
I know people who use, in fact, David, when we did his video, he's got the Hornady Progressive, but he loves using it, and he's got the lock and load bushings, and I know that's what he started on. So I from what I know, it's actually a pretty good setup, so it's something you might look at.
I'll definitely take a look into it. One more thing to add to the list.
And then we've got a case prep center here. This is the Frankfurt Arsenal. Do you use all 5 processes all the time? Do you only use a couple processes? Kind of what's your thought process on using it?
So this is the Lyman.
Or that's the Lyman
Case prep center.
Yeah.
Because originally when I first started, I didn't have any sort of case prep, and I wasn't going to do it manually. So I was borrowing a friend's RCBS one, and it was actually like stopping. I don't know. I wasn't applying too much pressure. It didn't have as much torque as the Lyman.
Yeah.
And ever since I picked up the Lyman, this thing is awesome. They're not too expensive. I think 140 or something like that. With this one, I don't use all the stations because I have a swager, so I don't have to use this anymore.
Yeah.
I don't have to clean my primer pockets because I use stainless steel pins and a wet tumbler.
Yeah.
So I use this for the chamfer and deburring, and then just to run through this to kind of make sure there's nothing left hanging in there.
All right. That was actually, it's funny, the Lyman, that's actually one of the very first videos I ever made for my channel was the Lyman case prep.
Oh, it's great. Earlier you mentioned, is there something that I wouldn't ever give up? It would probably be this.
Oh, really?
I've never tried I know Frankfurt Arsenal makes one.
Yeah.
Hornady makes one, but they're all so expensive, and a lot of them face forward, and I can't really imagine processing brass forward. It just seems like it'd be awkward for me.
I'm the same way. I totally agree. I know people who've had all of them. I really think the Lyman's probably the best out there for the money. So that's your non-negotiable right now. Like everything else, you kind of with this or that, but that one you really like, helps save you some time, and it does it the way you like it.
Yeah, that's definitely the one thing. There's not a better one out there that I know of that I want to upgrade to. So that will probably be there for my entire reloading.
Very cool.
Career.
And then how long have you been on the Chargemaster Lite?
The Chargemaster Lite is from the get-go. So when I started reloading, I probably did 50 pieces of brass with a mechanical scale and said, no way. There's no way I can do this. So I switched to the Chargemaster, which when I first started reloading was a lot of money. Of course it still is, but I think it was $250. But that is definitely a lifesaver. And I've actually since shooting the Tri-County 600, I've taken my mechanical scale out and checked every dispensing of the powder, and it's been great. Plus or minus, 0.01, or haven't noticed anything that crazy. So I went back to just trusting the Chargemaster Lite.
It's a great scale. I used to run a couple of them. I think it's one of those things that is very, very tough to beat for the money. One of the, like I said, people ask me, they say, hey, I want to get a digital powder scale, something that does most of the work for me. Chargemaster Lite is just one of those things that I point to. I mean, you've got a lot of really, I don't want to say simple or basic equipment, but you definitely have, the stuff that gets the job done without having to break the bank. And I think that's really important. So what about your powder throw here? What do you use that for?
That is strictly for handgun calibers. I don't think I could trust it throwing 72 grains of H1000, but 4.2 grains of tight group, it's spot on. Same thing, I've checked this with, I actually just checked it with the RCBS Chargemaster, and it's been great too. Plus or minus 0.1.
So you use mostly ball powders in it?
The disc.
The
tight
flake.
Group is the flaky disc.
That's right.
With 4.2 and you look inside, it's barely grabbing any of that powder, and when it throws it, it's been great. Tight group's been great. This has been dispensing exactly what I wanted to, and I haven't noticed that. I haven't had any super crazy charges. I don't have any double charges, so I'm sure the other manufacturers that make them are just as good. But this one, since it came in my kit originally, it's awesome.
And so what do? You put a loading block full of brass, and then do you just charge all the brass at once and then put bullets on, or are you a charge, put a bullet on, do the next one kind of guy?
Nope, I use the RCBS block that it came with. I get all 50 pieces of brass primed, and then I take it here, and I actually bought this recently because when you put it on the press, which is how it's come to set up, it has a little bar. It's really close to the press, so it's pretty hard to get underneath. And then you have to change your dies because it adds that little bit of space.
Oh, right.
So this was $30, which was kind of hard to justify at first, but after using it for a while, definitely worth it. And I have the primed brass in here, and I just kind of work my way around.
Oh, you don't even pull the brass out then. You just move your loading block all the way around, and you can reach all 50 without ever having to remove one.
Yep.
So
it doesn't get quite to the middle, so I'll go like this, and then I just end up flipping it around
and doing the other half.
And get all 50 of them. I've been looking at different brands of loading blocks. Like I know the Frankfurt Arsenal makes ones like these, but I haven't been able to find one in 9mm, at least in the store, because then I could almost get the whole thing from one side.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Saves a ton of time though. You just click, 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 run through. You can have 100 pieces of brass powder charged and loaded probably within an hour, which for a single stage setup is pretty quick. I know that's nothing progressive.
No, it's pretty good. Now it's hard to see down here, but down below we've got the Frankfurt Arsenal, as it's known, the fart. And
the wet fart,
and then the brass dryer. For those that don't know, it's called the fart because it's the Frankfurt Arsenal rotary tumbler, FART. It's sort of a running joke in the shooting world, but it's a good unit. It actually works real well. I know a lot of people that really love it. It's got a built-in timer. It's got the filters on it. For the money, again, I think it's pretty tough to beat.
There's one number, like the number one selling point for the Frankfurt Arsenal versus at least the RCBS, which is the only other one I've seen, is the RCBS doesn't have a rubber lining on the inside.
Right.
And the Frankfurt Arsenal does, and it helps so much with the sound. This really isn't that loud. I can have it in here tumbling
and still be working.
Reloading. Yeah.
Nice. And it looks like you just use a regular miner's pan right here for sorting your brass out afterwards.
Yep, I've kept that super basic. I've looked at the other ones, but it really doesn't take that long just to sort it out, sift it through, kind of take a magnet, double check my...
And then you just use the brass dehydrator.
Yep, which is just a super elaborate food dehydrator.
Rebranded.
Yep, they just stick a different name on it and call it a brass dryer, but if you had a crappy old food dehydrator, that would be the exact same thing.
Yeah, I know. I often see Harbor Freight food dehydrators getting used and stuff like that.
That could definitely be
and so you'll see Josh reloads quite a few different calibers here. We've got everything 9mm, 45, 223, 76, 06, 08, 300, 40s. I mean, lots of different stuff. So, really a wide variety of reloading that goes on. And, I think that probably, speaks to his organization, the fact that he can do it all. And, between the way he's got everything organized over here, the way that his bench is organized, everything just makes it easy, I'm assuming, for you to just switch between calibers. And move along. it's pretty common sense, but we were talking earlier, when it comes to doing different calibers and such, you just have all your dies set up already. The rings are where you want them. They're locked down, and you can just spin them in, start loading, and feel good about it, right?
Yep, it's all about taking notes, having good documentation of every load and everything you've ever changed. And if you have that, you just open your little notebook up, find where everything was set before, and go.
And we were talking, I'm a big fan also, but we were talking about the difference in rings, and these are the ones you're not a big fan of, right?
Those are garbage.
So these are, kind of what are called a cross lock, or there's another name for them, but basically you're just jamming a pin against the thread, and a lot of dies come with that. So as I was digging through his dies, pretty much everything's been converted to some kind of a cross lock, where it actually clamps down and holds the die in place. And I'm a big fan of these two. Forster does them, and these are Hornady's, right?
Those ones are Hornady's. They're not very expensive. I mean, the RCBS locking rings, they even tell you in the manual that you have to take the pin out and put a piece of lead shot in there to help it lock in and not spin.
Jeez.
Which is...
I've heard people use, the other thing that's popular besides lead shot is also a string trimmer, like for a weed whacker.
Oh, yeah.
People will cut a little piece of that and put it in, and it jams up against it.
I could see that, yeah.
I've seen that too. Shooting gear wise, what do we got up here? We've got a couple of sandbags, a couple of range bags.
Yep, I have the mat for prone, but I don't really shoot prone because I've never been able to find it comfortable. I don't know how you guys do it every week.
And
the chronograph, the Magneto Sporter. Hopefully one day I'll switch to a Labrador, but for the money right now...
Those things are great. Yeah.
It's great. The only thing that's been hard for me is now I shoot suppressed 100% of the time, and that particular model won't go over a suppressor. V3, the higher up model, does go over suppressor, but that one doesn't.
Have you thought about, they make like, I don't know what they're called, but there's a couple brands that make a rod that you can actually anchor the magneto speeds to so that they come out to the side of your gun. It's something you might look at. And then you shoot off a lot of sandbag type stuff here?
Yep, everything I have is going to be shooting with a bipod and some sort of sandbag. Those ones are all kind of experiments. The one I use the most is stuck in here, but these ones are pretty stiff, so they're kind of hard to get a good solid, or not, I guess they would give you a good solid, but you can't have any adjustment with it. So for the 600, I use this bag, which I don't even, wide bad, I guess is the We bad. Just some bag I found online, made in the USA, and it works great.
That company makes really good stuff. I remember when I was looking at getting into PRS at one point, they were kind of like the go-to bag. I don't know if they still are, but I know they make really nice stuff, so I'm sure that bag will last you.
Yeah, it's been great so far. And I mean, with the chronographs you saw also up there, I have the Caldwell Ballistic Precision Chronograph.
Yeah.
Which is hit or miss, I would say. For the money, I guess, if you were just looking for something super basic, it's okay. But if you could spend another $100 and get something that's going to pick up every time you shoot, I would definitely.
And not have to set up frames in front of the...
Shooting at a chronograph is kind of creepy, but for whatever reason, that chronograph does not like plated bullets. I have no idea why that would make a difference, but whenever I test my plated rounds, it says they're all at 300 feet per second.
That's weird. So, we've kind of looked at your setup. It's, it's just a nice, modest setup that gets the job done, but everybody has wishes and hopes and dreams. What is your next, Santa comes early, what's the one piece of gear you would love to replace with something else?
I would love to have a Dillon XL 750 with the bullet feeder and the case feeder and all that. I have not been able to justify it, but that would be the number one thing. For my rifle setup, only shooting the Tuesday nights right now, I'm totally satisfied with everything I have here. But an XL 750 would be amazing.
Would be really nice.
Yeah, but right now, I mean, I don't know if it's always this expensive, but they're extremely expensive to get into. You can find them, and then all the case feeder and everything just adds up so fast. Yeah,
it's not hard to spend $2,000 on a 750.
I could see that. I tried to math out.
Yeah. By the time you buy all the conversion kits, and it sure does make life easy though.
I didn't even think about using one for rifles until I saw that you guys used them for rifles. I saw them as more of a handgun setup, but I guess that would be amazing for using them for rifle, because it takes me a very long time to process and load 50 pieces of brass per rifle. Yeah, especially
like the decapping, the sizing, a lot of that stuff. Even if you weren't totally comfortable doing the loading side of it, the brass prep side is pretty awesome.
Oh yeah.
So what kind of, I don't know what your expectations were. I don't know if everybody saw it, but Josh actually finished third in our summer league. This was last year.
That was Winter League.
Or Winter League. Yeah. That's right. I screwed up the plaques and put Summer League on them.
League.
So that was Winter League. We were actually getting ready to do our award ceremony for Summer League, and I know that he is, again, going to be getting a plaque.
Third
place.
Yep.
That's all right. Hey, you know what?
8 points away from second this year, and that was my fault.
Third's better than fourth, right?
Yeah, I thought I was going to get fourth, so I was very happy when I saw the final scores and saw that third place.
What's your going into, let's say, Winter League next year? What's sort of your expectations and goals? Having had a pretty successful Summer and Winter League this year.
I'm going to change basically everything when it comes to my load development for the next league, because when I did my original load development for the load that I've been shooting at the 600 yard, I did it with a rifle that wasn't suppressed. I didn't do it as detailed as I could. I got a load, it seemed to be fairly accurate for my expectations, and I just went with it. Then I put a suppressor on my gun, and I still just went with it. So for Winter League, I will have a devoted load with a suppressor designed for 600 yards, a lighter bullet weight, something to help try and keep my barrel a little cooler.
Yeah.
And just try and get second at least. I guess that'll be my next expectation.
That'll be very, very cool. What's the best piece of advice? You've obviously been fortunate to shoot with a lot of people at our club. As you've been getting through this, I know a lot of people have been out there helping you. What's sort of the best advice that you've been able to turn into success, either in the room or on target?
I guess when I took your reloading class, I think that was, I don't remember how long ago that was, not too long ago.
January. Yeah.
I definitely learned some things about load development. I haven't been able to implement them yet, but I plan to take all that information and turn it into hopefully my next best load. Okay. That'll be a lot more detailed than my last one. So the best advice I've gotten is any advice at all at the 600 yard.
That's cool.
So whenever I'm out there on the line, I'm always listening into other conversations as I quietly sit in my little bench with my only Ruger Precision 300 Win Mag on the line.
The boomer.
It doesn't boom though.
No, you got the can on it.
That air, it made a huge difference. I don't think I would be shooting that without the can on it. Nobody would want to be next to me.
What when you look at your process, you obviously don't have a ton of steps, but when it comes to, let's say, the precision rifle type side, so the 300 Win Mag, is there a process that you have eliminated or wish you could eliminate for one reason or another?
Probably not, because I've done the opposite. I took my one stage of sizing and depriming and expanding from one die, and I've now broken it into three different steps.
Processes.
So I've done the opposite way. I've added steps to try and see if that made a difference for precision.
Okay. You still trim for length on the 300?
Kind of, yes and no. I never really did, because I always just looked at the book and said max length, and I never was over max length.
So as long as you chamfered and deburred, you were good?
I would just chamfer and deburr them, put them back out there. I trimmed my last few, and I honestly couldn't tell the difference, at least for the groups that I'm already getting.
So that's a process that maybe you felt was necessary, but the reality is it hasn't made a difference not doing it.
I guess I have, I brought this out just to show you how much I don't like it, but I have this, but I don't really ever use it anymore.
And for those that can't see, he's talking about the RCBS trimmer. It's, we were talking earlier, it's got some quirks in terms of how it locks down that unfortunately make it easy to strip out, and it's sort of made it a process. Now, did you sort of stop trimming because of stripping out the screws, or was that about the same time that you said I really don't need to anyway?
It was both. I kind of went back to it recently just because I had asked you, and you said that you trim every time, so I was like, okay, maybe I'll try it again. And that's when I remembered how out of whack that thing was, and that's why for the last couple times, no, I haven't been trimming because I can't trust that trimmer.
Okay. And as far as process, there's obviously a lot of things that you have to do in the reloading world. What is your least favorite to actually do that you can never get rid of?
Currently, it would be priming, just because of the pain it causes, in my wrists. But hopefully with the new automatic priming tool from RCBS, that'll eliminate that. But everything else, I don't mind. I sit here, I turn my music on, just kind of have my own little zen out here, and I love processing brass. That's probably, other than seating the bullet in the end, processing the brass I still enjoy.
Yeah.
But the priming would be the only thing that's a pain that I will never get away with, obviously, or away from.
Yeah, for sure. I guess the only other thing is, obviously you're around a lot of people out at the line. What's sort of the one thing that's boggled your mind the most that you're like, I never thought about that, whether it's with what you shoot or what other people shoot? Like, what's sort of been just like the craziest thing that you said, I never even realized that was something I would have to worry about or that other people worry about?
When I started hearing that people shaved, or I don't remember what it's called, and tipped their bullets. I couldn't
trim and point?
Yeah, that blew my mind. I thought if you're buying these super expensive high-end bullets that they would come already perfect out of the box. And I hear people sorting and weighing their bullets, which I still have never done. I just trust the box. I mean, I'm not quite as finicky as you guys, because I think even if I had a perfect load, I'm still shooting with a basic, factory barrel.
Yeah.
You're only going to get so good out of it, so I don't sort my bullets.
Yeah.
I do the crime of mixing powder lots in the same box of loads, and same with bullets. If I have 5 left and I have to load 20, I'm not going to just throw those 5 away, so I just take the 5, open a new box, and keep going.
Nice.
For my loads, it hasn't made a huge difference.
Yeah.
I can't really sound like I shoot 5 and then, the last 15 are garbage. They all tend to average out basically the same.
And so you heard people talking about trimming and pointing bullets, and it just kind of, what the heck?
How much of a difference could that make? I mean, I still don't know how much of a difference it makes, but
it does.
Blows my mind. I don't know if I'll ever go that far, but maybe one day.
It's a neurotic thing. Anything else that you want to share with everybody that's watching?
I guess the only thing I'd say is everybody asks me if reloading is worth it. You don't really save any money with reloading, but it has to be a hobby. You have to like it, and I definitely love reloading. This is my number one and only hobby that I really have, other than working and family.
Yeah.
I'm home. It'd be reloading.
No, I think that's good advice, because I think there is sort of a misnomer for people that get into reloading. They think, I'm doing it to save money, and I think anybody that's reloaded for any amount of time knows that it's exactly the opposite.
Maybe with pistol, handgun calibers, yes. Especially now, you can definitely save money. But pre-COVID prices, it cost me $8 a box for a 9mm, which is the same cost it was to buy it back then.
Yeah.
But now it's definitely worth it.
Now you're 3 or 4 times ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
With how crazy the prices are right now, it's definitely worth it for handgun calibers.
Nice. And I noticed shotgun rounds, you don't reload shotgun of any kind.
I don't. I know it's a whole different stage setup.
Yeah.
You have to have a whole new press and everything and all that. So
yeah.
Since I'm still able to find it here and there, I definitely don't reload the shotgun.
Okay. Well, Josh, I can't thank you enough. It's never easy, kind of opening your doors and kind of, showing how you do it and, kind of being objectified in that way. But I think you have a great setup. I think that you really, again, for people that ask, like, this doesn't have to be a big money game. You can get some very simple equipment that does a really good job. And if you know how to load with it, and, like Josh said, he takes good notes. He keeps his equipment organized. You can really make an inexpensive setup produce some really high quality ammo. So, Josh, once again, thanks for everything, and we'll talk to you guys later.